Well, hello, and welcome to the Plos Bros podcast. Happy Black Friday and/or Thanksgiving, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for coming to our show. It's a big day in Star Wars news and a big day in the fandom. So we're here to talk to you about it. And to join me is my co-host, Matt Mellish. How you doing, Matt?
Doing great. My co-host, Sam Govan. How you doing today, Sam?
Great, buddy. Good to be here.
Great to be here. Wow, what a day. Like he said, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It is weird because on TikTok, I do have a lot of people, and even on this YouTube channel, that aren't from America. So it doesn't really apply to everybody, but I think Black Friday does. So let's celebrate the holiday shopping. And to do that, I actually did some Black Friday shopping. I went to the Lego store, of course, the best place to do Black Friday shopping. And to figure out what I got, you have to stay to the entire end of the episode. Sam doesn't even know everything that I got. Our reactions will be wholehearted.
Even Matt's surprised. He doesn't even know what's in the bag. He bought so much stuff and spent so much money, he doesn't remember.
I just went to the Lego store. I put my mask over my eyes and I just picked things off the shelf and threw it in the bag. It was like $10,000, but we'll see what we have.
Sir, you bought 3 Diagon Alleys and a Coliseum.
And another Death Star and Imperial Star Destroyers. And anywho, we got to get into Mando.
It's a big day for Mando. Let's talk about Mando.
There's so much to talk about. I actually made a list. I never make lists.
Oh, I make show notes every week, but this week is a lot of Mando stuff.
There's just so much to keep track of with the Jedi. And by the way, people, if you haven't seen the episodes yet, please keep in mind that this is spoiler heavy. Definitely watch the episode before listening to our commentary on it, and then go rewatch the episode after you hear our commentary, because you'll be able to pick up on different things that you might not have before.
You want to rewatch Rebels and Clone Wars and everything else after you hear our conversation. Exactly. And maybe even the Phantom Menace.
Or the Force Awakens, or The Last Jedi. Oh yeah, we're going there tonight. There's so much to talk about.
Okay, overall thoughts, Matt. What do you think?
Okay. Here was my experience watching the episode. Let me tell you, and Sam kind of has already heard the story, but I was at our friend Vic's place, watching this with him at 3 a.m., right on the money. We had to listen to the episode with the volume fairly down. It was number 6, 7, 8, because his family was sleeping. So I didn't get to hear everything in the episode the first time. Upon rewatching, there was a lot of other things that I picked up on, which I would always say that Star Wars movies, TV shows, they always require a second watch. But right off the bat, we get Ahsoka. Immediately caught my attention and got a cheer out of me, even though I didn't want to wake up Vic's family. I think overall the episode was very necessary for the plot, very force-driven, which we haven't seen a lot of in Mando, and we got to see connections to other things in the Star Wars universe that get me excited as a hardcore Star Wars fan and someone who cares deeply about the canon.
Overall, I enjoyed it. Feels like another setup episode, and we can talk about the deeper lore later in the podcast, but I believe overall, I greatly enjoyed myself with this episode. I was on the edge of my seat, and my biggest apprehension coming in was the fact of Ahsoka and what she was going to look like. I was glad I wasn't spoiled for that. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing if we see her in the future or if she's going to show up again. And I'll talk about later on in the podcast what my general thoughts are, because I don't know if I want to see a lot more of her in the show. So
I don't disagree with you. I do not disagree with you there. I don't want this to turn into Ahsoka and the Mandalorian. I want this to be the Mandalorian. And I wouldn't mind, honestly, after this episode, I'm going to say it now, I wouldn't mind seeing an Ahsoka series. Even just 8 episodes, 1 season, I think it could be great. And I don't know if that's something that you think that you would be wanting to see after this episode and the way that they did it or not.
It would be fine with me. I think that with the right storytelling and the right direction behind it, I think a lot could be done with the character. But I think it's all about the way you do it. And it's like, I think that's the way Obi-Wan and Ben and Cassian and all these other stories that we're telling right now. I think it's all about the direction of the story and the way the characters are written that you should really be focusing on right now. So
I completely agree. I completely agree. And the way that Dave Filoni wrote and directed this episode was like none other. He's gotten better at live action, I would say.
oh yeah, I've heard some of my other friends talk about the Avatar vibes in this episode. It was cool to see those kind of feelings with Ahsoka in Avatar and like that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, especially that town. That town felt like the Fire Nation fortress of some kind with that bell tower, the way it's set up, and it felt like a samurai movie mixed with a western perfectly. And that's the vibe that it should be. It should be the ninja and the cowboy fighting together, and that's what we got. And I loved that
Yeah.
genre.
Well, I guess you just want to kind of walk through the episode here because I think that, like you said, I have a lot of feelings about the episode. The best way to kind of get it through all of it is to kind of just walk through it and see what we think. Yeah, I think the opening for me was a good way to kind of walk in and see the character. You see the head tails, you see the white lightsabers. Seeing that kind of view was really, really neat. And I loved the burnt forest look.
Oh yeah. And it was immediate. They didn't waste any time. And that's what kind of shocked me. And it got that awe out of my reaction. I think
Mhm.
that's what they were going for. And I felt that they were confident in the way they handled her. They were confident in the way she looked. Rosario Dawson's acting, which was on point every single time she was on the screen. She reminded me so much of Ahsoka in the animated series. Her facial expressions, the way she swung the blades. I don't know if that was a stunt performer paired with Rosario Dawson's acting, but it was just extremely well done to a T. The way she said lines, I could almost auditorily hear Ahsoka as Ashley Eckstein speaking the lines, especially when she returned to the village the second time. So well done. So well done.
Oh, yeah. And I have said on here before that I didn't think that Ashley Eckstein's voice really fit the character in Rebels. So I definitely thought that it was nice to see Rosario Dawson actual voice as the character in this episode.
And we talked about that before, and I was unsure about it, but honestly, I agree with you 100% in this case. So well done, especially the amount of lines that she had. We didn't know how big of a role that she was going to play in this series at all, but
Mhm.
knowing how important she was to this episode, I didn't need Ashley saying it. Rosario Dawson did an amazing job, and she's a great actress in my book now, for sure.
Yeah, and could you imagine them having dubbed this episode? Like that would have been so strange for them to try to make her match the lines and the infliction. It just would have been really tough.
Too
And I just,
difficult.
yeah.
It's not a Darth Maul appearance
Mhm.
that happens and then it's over. It's at the very end. It's a couple lines. This was an entire episode dedicated, sort of, to this character. I appreciated that. I appreciated the level of detail that the
Yeah.
actress had to have studied. And props to Dave Filoni for his direction, probably as well. That's not an easy feat to bring something from animation to live action. It's very difficult, I'm assuming.
I've heard that Rosario Dawson really pushed to be this character and she saw that the fans were interested in her. So it sounds like she did her research to know what Ahsoka was like, what her story has been. So it's really cool to see someone that dedicated to the character and the story to kind of do their own research to, get the part.
I completely agree. What did you feel about the forest fight? Because to me, right off the bat, it felt almost horror film esque. Like, if I were those thugs, I would have felt scared for my life. What was your reaction to the beginning?
Oh yeah. Okay, so this has to all play into my general state of when I watched this episode. So I was driving to my girlfriend's house on Thanksgiving night, which was last night, and I forgot that it was Thursday. And then halfway there, I realized it was Thursday. I was like, "Oh man, new Mando episode not tomorrow." And so then I went to bed, and I woke up at 3:45 in the morning, not on purpose. And my mind woke up. I looked at my phone. It said 3:45, and I was like, oh my gosh, the episode just ended. I could watch Mando right now. I rolled back over and tried to go back to sleep because my girlfriend and I watched the episode together
Thoughts
every
of
week.
Ahsoka were dancing in your head.
And I was just like, I could know what Ahsoka looks like right now. I tried to go back to sleep. I didn't get very good sleep until 8 o'clock or whenever we woke up. Well, she was making her coffee. I logged on to Disney Plus and saw the listing. And in my mind, the episode read, Mando and the child travel to a planet where a magistrate has enhanced augmented soldiers or something like that. And in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, are there dark troopers in this planet? So the entire time I'm looking for these augmented soldiers. In my mind, I was like, oh, there's a deeper meaning to this. It wasn't. There was just robots and these thugs working for the magistrate. It was definitely something that I had to get over the first time.
What was the actual episode description?
It just says that the Mando and the child travel to a planet with a corrupt magistrate, something like that.
Why did
So,
you
oh, I have no idea. I was like, my mind was just swimming with excitement, and I don't think I read it. So it was a very interesting morning. But anyway, the first time I saw those thugs, the thing I thought of was, you know, those clone pilots in the episode Cat and Mouse in the Clone Wars?
Yes.
They look like Air Force pilots with like the hose coming out of the front of their helmet.
Yes.
That's immediately what I thought of. I was like, wow, those helmets look like adapted clone pilot helmets. With the way the hose looked and all that stuff, it just
Interesting.
Like, I guess it's like the goggles with the nose piece. So that was something that I really kept thinking as I saw them in the episode.
I had not experience with the droids because to me, for some reason, and this probably doesn't link up, just like yours, it's like a far stretch to think this, but when you're so deep in canon knowledge and references to the Star Wars material, you look at things very deeply. To me, the droids kind of had an early concept Knights of Ren look to the face, to the headpiece. It almost looked like a helmet to me. I don't know why. It's that samurai vibe, I think.
Yeah,
I
and
hear what you're saying, though. I do.
feel free to make fun of me in the comments because I was
Same.
half asleep and I am too deep in the canon. I like the hired gun guy too. Him being a bounty hunter felt like the bounty hunters in the Camino arc. They're not directly tied to a certain cause. And I thought in that moment when, I know I'm skipping ahead, but the scene where him and Mando are facing off at the end of the episode, I really thought he was just going to drop his gun and be like, hey, I'm going to walk away now.
He was Imperial. He was ex-Imperial, Mando said. Or he thought he was, at least. That was the vibe that he got. But it did feel like a hired gun sort of vibe. And I would agree. I had that vibe as well of not knowing what he was going to do. The way that the shots were taken and the music and how it was building. I didn't know if he was going to run away and be more selfish, like save his own life, not give up his life for a cause that he doesn't know if he completely believes in or not, or the other way around. Like, and that's what I love about episodes like these, actually not knowing or not being able to predict what happens next. That's the best storytelling.
I totally agree with that. I did think that was really cool to have fluid characters. They held the Ahsoka thing too, where we are in Ahsoka's story until the very end of the episode. I thought that was really nice to not know where she was in her journey.
And I 100% agree with you with that. Obviously, we'll get there, but we were talking about that the whole time for the past 2 or 3 episodes. Are we before the Rebels epilogue? Are we after the Rebels epilogue? Where are we in the Ahsoka story? And knowing that we're right before, or what felt like right before that epilogue, was really cool with how canon is being tied together.
Mando gets there and him walking up to the enemy first, I thought was really cool. Like that whole perspective of walking in, getting his perspective, walking through the town, seeing those people up on the things definitely gave me biblical vibes of him, like the people on crosses. They also do that in Game of Thrones, having tortured people outside the city as you walk into like the fancy part of town, like the enemies of the public. I thought those people were going to be like force sensitive villagers for a minute. Like I thought maybe she was like a Jedi killer or something like that. She was like gathering the force sensitive beings to like torture Ahsoka, but they were just innocent villagers.
The mind of a very sleepy Sam in the morning. I like that story.
Oh yeah. Well, my girlfriend thought the Magistrate Morgan Elizabeth was a Jedi herself. Sounds like she's a Jedi, you know. Her people were destroyed and she helped raise the empire, something like that. Like sounds like a Jedi. And the way she was portrayed with that staff looked like she could be a Jedi in some way.
I got ex-Inquisitor vibes. My mind went to weird places too because it's 3 a.m. I leaned over to Vic and I'm like, what if she's the apprentice of Barriss Offee and she's looking for Barriss Offee and that was her master that she referenced? Wouldn't that be interesting? It was the tattoo on the forehead that kept throwing me off about what she could be. And I think that's why I thought more or less Jedi force sensitive user, almost like a Depa Billaba looking character, the way she held herself, at least.
We still don't know a whole lot.
Was she ever mentioned in any of the Thrawn books?
I just Wikipedia'd her name, and I honestly didn't get a chance to look at her profile. I looked at, well, I think his name's Leek or Lek or something like that. He was the hired gun,
Okay.
and that's where I actually got her name from. So I didn't even get a chance to look at her. I should have looked at her page. But
Gotcha. No, I'm just wondering because if she is under Thrawn, one of his pupils, I suppose you could call her, she knows how to fight, which Thrawn would, of course, teach people, but Thrawn himself isn't a Force user. He's very tactile in his approach to a situation. And I also enjoyed how they both paused before they fought each other as more of a honorable thing to do, to throw down their cloaks, kind of like bow almost, and take a pause before going into it. That's something that Thrawn would do and how he fights, I feel like. He doesn't play dirty.
that staff that she had, that spear, was pretty kick-ass, I have to say. I really enjoyed that. I really, 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 really thought it was going to become Ahsoka's staff from the epilogue of Rebels. The way she kept in the ground, I kept going tink. I was like, they're setting it up because it tinks in the end of the Rebels finale when she walks in. That's the only noise. That's the last noise that she makes in Rebels is her staff hitting the ground. Go back and watch it.
I believe this was your payment.
I watched it right after we finished the episode. I was like, oh man, it's gonna be it. And then she gave it to Din Djarin. I was like, weird flex, but okay.
No, but
Like-
this is important. And I was going to save this to the end of the episode, but we can get into it now since we're already here.
I just want to get my crazy staff theory out of the way. So
I have a crazy staff theory is what it is. We know what it's going to be used for is what I'm saying. He has to fight Moff Gideon with that staff. That's why he needed the staff. That's why this episode is so important. I can't believe you missed that.
I've watched the episode. I've only watched the episode once. I didn't even think about this.
Sam, this is so important to the
Oh,
plot, and
no.
people are completely skipping over it. People are
Okay.
hung up on Morai. That's the whole problem. People are hung up on the owl, on the convery. Everybody's forgetting
I
about
thought you were gonna say Grogu.
well, and that too. But they're forgetting what the purpose of this episode really is. It's so that he gets a Beskar staff to be able to fight Moff Gideon. That's the whole point.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Also, I was shocked to know that Beskar blocks lightsaber.
Yeah, oh, that was so cool. Like when he just puts his forearms up.
I was not expecting
was
that.
really. Oh no, not at all. And that little fight between them was really cool. I saw someone put a parallel between what was that Clone Wars episode, Friend in Need, when she gets captured by Death Watch with Lux Monteri, and then they tie her up in the same way, like Luke Skywalker. There was like 4 Mandos with her all tied up. It was like that, like she was all tied up like that, and like when he hung her from the tree, that whole fight was choreographed so cleanly.
Oh, I agree. And the flamethrower coming out, so well done. And she almost felt annoyed when he tied her up like that. Like she already knew how to get out of that position from those episodes, which I can appreciate. That's really cool observation. I didn't tie it to that on my immediate first couple watches, but I appreciate that coming from you.
You didn't tie it to it.
Ba-doom-tsh. And what stops them is her seeing Grogu or Baby Yoda and her past recollection of the same species being from who she knows as
Yaddle.
Yoda. Well, okay, can we talk about that? I only knew one Jedi who was the same species, and he was Yoda. She's gotta have seen Yaddle, unless Yaddle dies before Ahsoka is brought into the Jedi Order.
I mean, Ahsoka would have been like a little kid when Yaddle was on the Jedi Council. So
I suppose, yeah.
yeah, I mean, she was 14 during the Battle of Christophsis.
What's Yaddle's history?
Yeah.
We don't
Yaddle
know.
doesn't have a death. Yeah, Yaddle does not have a story after Phantom Menace. Talking about the Jedi Temple, isn't it interesting that Grogu and Ahsoka are pretty much the same age? They're both pretty much
Ish.
50 years old at this point.
Around that.
They're in that age range. It's crazy that they're both the same age, you know.
That is a very interesting way to look at it as well. And I think what I was struggling with a little bit was not understanding, maybe you could clear this up a bit. Is Grogu mentally a child, or is he mentally an adult in a child's body? Like, does his mind age the same as his body, or does his mind age at a different rate?
So I took it as, I think this remains to be seen overall, but this is my crazy theory right now. This is my, not crazy theory, but grounded theory, I mean. He's having these problems as he's seen the dangers of the world in like post Order 66. And so he may have been more mature during the fall of the Jedi, but I think he's pushed all those mature thoughts away, and now he's just gonna be like, it's easier to act as a child and act innocent because like him being able to understand Din and do that stuff, like in the last episode, like the blue wire, red wire thing. I think those kind of things, I think it's a lot easier for him to just revert back to being a child. It's just easier to do that because he's so down on the world. And I think Din, as a parental figure, gives him hope. And so that's why he's seen these little bits of the Force, and he's been able to use the Force to help Din because Din is bringing him back from these dark times that he's had.
He also never had a father, which is interesting as well. All he's known is the Jedi. From this new perspective, at least, what we can gather.
For me, it is better for me to know that Grogu is a legitimate born being, not a clone of Yoda, not anything crazy Imperial science, dark magic, whatever. I feel better that he was a Jedi during that time. I know some people are different, and I don't know how you feel about it, but for me, it's better to know that he was just a kid. He was thrown through the ringer during Order 66.
No, I agree with that. And I think it settles those theories, which we needed, because everybody's looking at Dr. Pershing's patches and trying to bring in Camino, and we don't need that stuff right now. I don't want to hear that stuff. I want legitimate story, and I want to look at this from a realistic, canonical perspective without any fan-driven expectations. There's a difference. We don't want fan service. I don't want it as a story unless it connects well enough. Like, this wasn't fan service, and we got Ahsoka Tano in Mandalorian live action.
Because she's the only one that's widely known right now as the Jedi that's out there other than Luke Skywalker, and he's a little busy right now.
Yeah, from what we can imagine.
Hunting Force relics and stuff.
Did you see Morai, the Convery?
No.
I didn't see it watching it, but I was looking up a couple things about the end of the episode, and I saw a photo of Morai. It's barely visible, split second, when Mando and Baby Yoda, Grogu, are walking through the forest to get Ahsoka. And I did hear, when I was watching it, without anybody telling me, I did hear the owl hawk screech that the Convery makes before that point. It's just a really nice nod without being super in your face. Well done, Dave Filoni. Thank you.
Are you sure that that wasn't just an owl that worked on set that just happened to get caught?
They were actually shooting right beside Fantastic Beasts, and
an owl got out and just flew through the set. Dave Filoni's like, oh yeah, that's a Convery. Just put that noise in and we'll all be good. Pablo Hidalgo's out there making bird noises.
Oh god,
no, Pablo, you're not making the wrong noise.
That was excellent. But anyways, do you think that matters? Do you think seeing the Convery, which to me, the Convery is the reincarnated daughter, come back into the world after she dies in the Mortis arc? To me, that's what the Convery is. Do you think that applies or matters to any of this?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, I just had to be blunt to provide humor. Ahsoka having the life force of the daughter is more important. The reason that Ahsoka's lasted so long is that she kind of carries the life force of the daughter in more of a way than Morai carries the life force of the daughter. Because I think if the Convery meant more, we would also see a gargoyle of some kind or something like that represents the sun in dark side things.
Ooh.
So
I would love to see that. That'd be so cool.
And if we see a gargoyle or something like a dark bat,
they could have done it easily in Rebels, but following Vader around, that would have been cool.
Or even following Maul. So I think that they missed the boat on that one. Like they included Morai in the end of the season 2 finale on Malachor. They also include her in the World Between Worlds. So
and the Clone Wars, the season 7 finale, when Vader shows up on the planet where they crashed the Venator Star Destroyer. To me, what Morai means is that connection through the life force to Ahsoka. And that's why she follows her around, because they're innately connected through the force. So wherever the Convery is, Ahsoka isn't too far behind. Or she was there at some point.
I'm not going to disagree with that whole thing, I guess. It's just more that I think they're going to forever leave it up to interpretation. I don't think they're ever going to say straight out, like, this is the reason why this owl thing hangs around all the time.
Yeah. And it's
So-
just like they're never going to explain the Mortis arc. We still, after all these years, haven't had someone solidify what that arc means for the overall Star Wars deeper story as a whole through the Force. But anywho, down the rabbit hole we went from
Well, I
one
was talking about,
second of Morai in this episode.
well, talking about deep Force things, I was going to say, how did you feel about saying that she couldn't train Grogu? Talking about Anakin, like in a sidelong backdoor kind of way. I thought that was pretty cool. Like, you know,
Oh,
she didn't exactly say, "Oh, my master became Darth Vader." I thought it was really cool, like her talking about that in the kind of layman's term kind of way for Star Wars fans who don't know who she is.
Yeah, I think it was expert writing. That's what I think it was. I think it was well done in a way where it's not flashy and fan service. That's what I care about. And there's always a way to say something without it coming across cheesy or fabricated and cheap. This felt holistic and well done, especially because Mando doesn't really understand what's going on. And I don't think that she's going to lay down everything in front of him. Just this random guy. Yeah, I was the apprentice to Darth Vader. Yeah, okay.
It's hard for me because I'm so deeply rooted in the fandom, but how many people found out who Ahsoka Tano was for the first time today, or heard the name Grand Admiral Thrawn for the first time today?
Probably
like that,
a good amount. And
that's what was so weird to me, because I grew up knowing who Ahsoka Tano was. Like, for me, as long as I've known what Star Wars was, I've known who Ahsoka Tano was. So that's what's so weird to me, is not knowing who she was. Taking a step back, for me, that was what made the episode sit a lot easier. And the things that I kind of saw wrong with it felt a lot better about afterwards.
Sure. And I think it was done in a way for everybody to enjoy it, no matter how much knowledge of Star Wars that you have. And that comes from a writer's perspective of knowing your audience and being able to re-explain things that only the Clone Wars or only Rebels could explain, or at least explain it enough, barely even touching on it, and having everybody appreciate it. You know how hard that is to please everybody? You know how difficult that is? And they're doing it. Once again, they're doing it, and I can get behind it. But the mention of Anakin, not necessarily saying his name, but referring to her master, definitely matches up with the story for this episode. And I remember you talking about, is Baby Yoda going dark, when we saw chapter 9 or chapter 10. I forget which it was, but you mentioned all of that. And not knowing like where he is paired with the dark side or the light side, where he stands in the Force, seeing all this violence, it matters. And it's nice to see that be more explained.
Oh, yeah. And to see a positive influence in the Force for him, that rock scene where she passes him the rock, and then that like connection scene to show like him and Din and like their connection, I thought was really cool to see that kind of kind gratification for Grogu in a way that, you know, she is someone who is well steeped in the Force, but then at the same time she says, "Oh, well, great job. Okay, do this now." But Din is there to be an even stronger support system for Grogu and his growth. That was a really interesting scene overall.
And they have a connection. That's why she refuses to train him in a way, I think, as well, because she's not going to separate that path. And a part of me, when those two were talking, when it's just Ahsoka and Grogu talking through the Force or whatever, well, first of all, it felt like Din was sitting outside of a counselor meeting and waiting on the child and like being so nervous about what was going on. Is it too far to think that Grogu might have told Ahsoka that he doesn't want to leave Mando, and that's why she doesn't want to separate them?
That's not too far off. I definitely wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility.
We're never going to know that. This is going to be one of the things that we always question. And the best stories always make us ask more questions than answer them.
You mean we're not going to get, in a certain point of view, Mando season 2 followed after Gene's guy is Grogu?
They removed Gene's guy. They took him out of the episode.
Literally, we watched the episode last night just to see if we could find that scene. And I paused it over and over and over again. And we got so tired of hearing "destroy it," because like that's the line right before it. And I was like, it's not there anymore. he's not there, and like I had to go through and find it on YouTube.
That's so sad that they had to get rid of that.
I would-
I don't know why they couldn't just embrace it. I don't know. You also have your fandom so connected to it as well. Why couldn't you just accept it and move on?
Well, how do you feel about when they attacked the town with Ahsoka giving herself up and pretending like she killed Mando?
I thought they were going to go a different direction at first, which my mom also thought when we watched the episode. I thought they were going to have Mando pretend that he captured her.
Me too, yeah.
Walk into town that way and just pass all the guards and everything. And then at the last second, have a big fight between the two parties.
But they did that last season because they did that with
Very
Greef
true.
Karga and yeah. So
Very true. Very true. And I enjoyed the action sequence that it presented for us. I probably enjoyed that more than what we would have gotten if it would have went the other way, with her jumping up on the bell tower and taking out all the guards. That was so cool. The way she cut the bell in half. And the music in this episode, can we just take a moment to appreciate whatever his name is, Ludwig Göransson, however he tied together Ahsoka's theme with Mandalorian theme and just blew us all away once again with the soundtrack.
I thought she was going to use the half of a bell and throw it through the town and like use it to break through the gates of the inner sanctum. And then she didn't. I was like, okay.
Although she is strongly connected with the Force, lifting a bell and throwing it through the entire town might be a little much. Same for the effects artists to try to capture that. But I liked it. And it provided more action without having to end it super early. I liked the way they paced it.
Oh, yeah.
With her going
Yeah.
through the town, igniting her lightsabers as she does in Rebels. So cool. Such a nod. Vic goes, she did the thing. She did the thing.
What did you think of the droid that they left on the roof? Do you think it was going to play more of a role than it did? Like, I was so weird having a fake out.
See, I forgot about it. I forgot about the droid on the roof being there when they were all fighting and there's just so much action going on that I kind of enjoyed it being as little of a moment as it was. And it surprised me. And I think that's what it's there for. This whole episode was the surprises, the moments of surprise and shock.
To me, I saw it as the same as the octopus that came from the ceiling of the Razor Crest, and that's that like end scene of episode 3. Maybe like weird tension, but Katie said she was like the scene with him and the hired gun guy, whatever Lack or whatever his name is, was going on.
Mhm.
She's like, "Oh, what about the droid on the roof?" She's like, "That droid's gonna come back into play." I was like, completely forgot about that. I got so tangled in the duel between Ahsoka and Morgan, I didn't see the purpose of it. But all the other stuff going on at that time was definitely worth the tension.
I think in such a tense moment, some little scenes like that alleviate that tension and can sometimes bring out a little laugh. Although the octopus scene, there was nothing tense about that moment to begin with. So
the music was tense. Like that's
yeah.
what, for me, the music was tense.
When Ahsoka threw the Beskar armor, the Mando shoulder pad down on the ground, I'm like, he better get that back. Especially because it had the mud horn on it.
And then he never showed him picking it back out. And then he just has it again. But okay, so that duel, the duel between Ahsoka and Morgan Elsbeth, that was, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit already. The garden itself, I thought was a really cool backdrop, a very unique backdrop. Morgan Elsbeth dead.
I also wondered that same thing, especially because they don't finish the scene. Like, they just have her asking the question and there's never an answer to it. And it felt like, you know how in Star Wars, you don't know if a character is dead until they show it? They have to show it for the character to actually die. I think that's one of these moments where Ahsoka might have let her get away because she got the information that she wanted. And that's all that she was trying to get the entire time. And she just forced her out of the town and saved the people.
They gave her fancy cape thing to that villager guy who became the new mayor. So it made me think that maybe she's dead.
Vic looks over to me and he says, that's actually Ezra Bridger. We just don't know it yet.
Her whole general dress looks like Greef Karga's dress from the last episode.
I agree.
Like the thing and the cape and the maroon. I saw an image of her before anything else in the episode, like a still image of her this morning before I watched the episode. Mm-hmm. And I was like, who is like it made sense to me then when I saw it was a magistrate. Did something happen to Grieve Karga? Like
Well,
what?
that's the same design almost as Count Dooku's little cape thing, and Vader in Episode 3 in Revenge of the Sith. He has that necklace thing. It's just one of those unsaid things that all the rollers have one of those little
Well, I meant
medallion
like the
type.
maroon. I meant the maroon with like the woven cape thing.
Oh
Like
yeah,
that's like
it's the same look. It's the
like
same look. It's
yeah,
Imperial Magistrate. I think that's the
yeah.
same idea behind it and keeping that look consistent. But one of my favorite shots of the episode was actually before the duel with Mando, the camera focused on Mando and having it then focus on Ahsoka in the back behind him when she's standing on the wall. That was a cool shot, especially because Mando was blocking the path for that guy to get back into the main, like the secret
The inner
sanctum.
sanctum.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that,
I think they call it the inner wall, but
to me, that felt very Avatar. That's what having an inner place and then a wall around it, especially the inside of it, the water, the trees, just like when Mando goes to visit Ahsoka with him and Grogu and their little training sequence, that area has life surrounding it. It has flowers, it has moss, but everything surrounding it is burnt to a crisp. It's like almost Ahsoka heals the land to a certain point. There was one very artistic, symbolic shot before they duel. There's the reflection of them in the water, and Ahsoka's lightsabers are white, and you can see the gleam of white shining down beneath Ahsoka. And then Morgan, she's wearing a very dark color with her robes, so there's a very dark reflection in the water. I really appreciated that. Just the little symbolic touches that they include. Love it.
what do you think is going to happen with the child going to Tython now? This other Jedi temple.
It was crazy that they actually managed to get that reference in. I was shocked when I heard that the first time, knowing that that's from the Old Republic video game and Legends. Really cool to be tied in. And I don't know if you know this or not. I haven't read the comics yet, of course, because I never have time to read my comics, unfortunately. But Dr. Aphra and Darth Vader are on Tython in the Dr. Aphra comic for a little bit. She like traps him there or something.
Is that in the Dr. Aphra comic or is that the Darth Vader comic?
Dr. Aphra. It's in the Dr. Aphra comic.
Oh, okay.
So it's interesting to me to see
Yeah.
a return to that planet. And in that comic, it's basically set up as being the same idea that it is in Legends, where it's where the Jedi originated.
Octo.
Octu was the first Jedi temple. The Jedi originated on Tython. That's where the order was established, but then the first temple was on Octu.
Oh, I thought the Jedi evolved from porgs, like the caretakers. Anyway,
No, just no.
what are your top guesses for the new Jedi that are going to find Grogu?
We only need one, and it's the answer. The Jedi will be Luke Skywalker. I'm saying it right here, right now. Grogu will be a part of Luke's Jedi training temple. Why? Why, you ask? Why do you think that? Matt, how could this be? Because the way Ahsoka reacts after they leave, it plays Ahsoka's theme, it swells, and she smiles, and she walks away. Why? She can feel what will eventually happen, and she knows that the son of her master lives. And it's so ironic that Luke Skywalker was trained by Yoda, and Grogu is of Yoda's species. Luke will be training someone of the same species that trained him. Grogu, who suffers from the same problems as Anakin, being pulled in the Force to the dark side and the light at the same time. It's only natural for Luke, his son, to pull him back to the light, just as he did Vader.
So, I thought you were going to say she's smiling because she knows that she won't have to worry about this child because he's going to get murdered by Snoke or Emperor Palpatine when the temple is destroyed by Ben Solo.
Still haven't read this Kylo Ren comics either.
He's gonna mercilessly get killed because every student in that school dies except for 3 who then get murdered as well. So there are no survivors other than Ben Solo and Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, but maybe Grogu was sent on another mission before that time.
Grogu, get in this little life pod and we'll take off. We have these Kashyyykian escape pods everywhere.
Maybe
Get on it. You need to go to
You need to go to the Wookiees. To the Wookiees, I will go. But no, I really
joint attack on the Wookiees.
I really do think it will be Luke Skywalker. I think it's only natural. He's the main Jedi figure at this time who's training other Jedi. And I think that Grogu just doesn't happen to be on the planet at the time where the temple is when Kylo comes to wreak his havoc.
Well, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but I'm pretty sure I know who it is.
Don't say it. Please don't say it.
Okay, picture this. All right. So it shows Mando and the child and Grogu walk up the mountain to the Seeing Stone. And Mando sits down and is really tired. And so Grogu is sitting there on the stone, meditating on the stone. And it shows like the time lapse of sun and moon, sun and moon, sun and moon. And they're up there for many days and many nights. And finally, Grogu connects with a Jedi Master across the galaxy. And it's just, and the camera pans out of the planet through space into another planet. And there we start panning through and going through this town. And there's a lot of vendors and a lot of stuff. And there's an old vagabond man, an old vagabond who is torn down. His snake body is kind of all beat up and stuff. And his eyes open up and it's Opal Red Sis. And he has survived Order 66. And he's going to come back. And he has a high Jedi Council member. He's going to train Grogu because he survived Order 66, according to the Darth Vader comic.
I'll make this bet with you. If it is Oppo Rancis, I will dye my hair white and paint my skin green.
Or it's Quinlan Voss. Those are my 2 theories. It's either Oppo Rancis or Quinlan Voss.
Honestly, I did think of Quinlan Voss because Quinlan, he's also pulled a variety of ways in the Force and could help the young Grogu who's going through a similar experience. But I really do.
I'm really pushing for Oppo Rancis.
I just don't see it being anybody but Luke Skywalker at this point.
I really don't want to see this show tied up in the Skywalkers. I really don't want to see that.
It's the very ending. It's the very ending of the show. They're not going to Tython next week. If you think that, you're crazy. Tython is in the center of it all, pretty much. It's in the deep core. He's got to get past the Empire, who are trying to catch up with him, and the Resistance. The New Republic is in the deep core, I'm pretty sure. I don't see them going to Tython until even maybe the very end of the series, but at the very earliest, the end of the season.
Maybe, I don't know. Well, that's what I love about this right now is we don't know anything.
I agree completely. Having no footage left from the trailers to be able to make judgments of, I like that a lot. But I don't think we will know who the Jedi is if they connect him to someone until the very end of the series, honestly. I don't think they're going to separate Grogu and Mando. I even think we have crazy fan speculation right now. Maybe Grogu actually chooses not to go either path, and he throws away the Force, and he decides to stay with Mando. What do you think about Thrawn? Seriously, do you think we will ever?
I do not want to ever see him. I do not want to ever see him in live action. Not in this show. I really think that I want this show to be solely its own thing. I don't want to see Luke Skywalker. I don't want to see Grand Admiral Thrawn. As much as I love those characters, and I really do love those characters, I want to see young Luke Skywalker training making his Jedi Temple. I would love to see that. I grew up reading those books, the Legend series about the Jedi Temple. I grew up reading those. I love those stories, and I would love to see that it play out in some way. But I do not think that I want to see it in The Mandalorian. I wrote in my notes, more Underworld, less Skywalkers.
I don't see it being anybody other than Luke Skywalker. I don't think that he will say a word. I don't think he'll even have a line. What it'll be, the last episode, you see the back of a hooded figure in a brown robe or a tan robe taking the child, and then he turns around and it's Luke Skywalker. Over the back of Luke Skywalker, we see Grogu looking back at Mando, and Mando looks at him, ponders a few thoughts, and turns away, and that's the end of the series.
And the Razor Crest explodes like the Naboo cruiser in the beginning of Attack of the Clones.
I really think we're gonna see Luke Skywalker, but I don't think we're gonna see much of him, and I don't think he's even gonna say a line.
Be ready for our season 3 hype show coming soon.
It actually is.
In the month, actually.
Yeah. Well, that's the end of Mando, but we won't have a hype show for season 3 until there's a need for hype for season 3. We forgot something though. Sam, this is a Dave Filoni directed episode. How could you have a Dave Filoni directed episode without the Loth Cat?
Oh yeah. Every time I saw Loth Cat in this episode, I said, "Oh, there's a Loth Cat. Oh, there's a Loth Cat."
I just love the little Filoniisms, is what I call them. Filoniisms. I love them. Did you think for a second that Grogu was going to go with Ahsoka?
No. I never thought that he was gonna. I thought that Mando was gonna trade Ahsoka the spear. Somehow they're gonna find a way to trade the spear for Grogu, and I was like, that makes him seem like he's a thing and then a person. So I like the way they went. Like you said, I think Grogu is always gonna choose Mando when he can, because he's more of a father than any kind of other figure will be to him.
Yeah, and it's a typical Star Wars ism. You always choose family over a power, over an ability. And I think that, honestly, he probably will throw away the Force. If not, if he chooses the path of the Jedi, it's Luke Skywalker. I honestly do think, even thinking more about it, he's going to choose Mando. My last thing that I want to ask you is, when do you think we'll see Ahsoka again?
I don't think we're going to see these characters like Bo-Katan. I don't think we're going to see her the rest of the season. I don't think we're going to see Ahsoka the rest of the season. I think we're going to be kind of like Boba Fett. I don't think we're going to see him the rest of the season either. I think it's going to be,
or if ever.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm fine. Like, I think Boba Fett, you have to continue that story sometime, but that's one story that I think they're going to drop seeds in every season until he is like a character that I think he's the post Moff Gideon story. I mean, we may be completely wrong, but I think he is the story after that. I think he's a puzzle piece in the big story, but Bo-Katan, I think she's going to play a bigger part next season. And Ahsoka, I think she'll show up maybe at the end, maybe to check in and say, "Well, hi, I'm your camp counselor. I just want to make sure you're doing okay. Like, is the baby still alive? Is he still a pain in the butt? All right, I'll see you later." Then just fly away.
I personally don't think we will ever see Ahsoka again in this series. I really don't. It's sad, but it's the reality of what the story calls for. I don't think the story will ever call for Ahsoka again. I truly don't.
I'd be very happy with that. My prediction there was very liberal, so I'm glad that you agree with a more conservative view of the character.
Yeah.
And I hope the creators find a good way to keep her not out of the story, but written in a good way.
She is on her own path. And yes, paths can cross at times, but they don't need to be woven together. I want a live action Ahsoka series. I want to see the return of Ezra and Thrawn in live action. I've decided that after seeing the way they integrated Ahsoka here. These are all animated characters, sure. They don't even need a super long animated series to explain what happens. I think they could do it in 8 episodes of live action. And I think that would excite fans a lot more. But I don't want to see it in this series.
That would just convolute the story here too much.
Oh, I agree. I agree completely. I think Bo-Katan needs to come back because she needs to get that Darksaber. But I don't think that we'll be seeing that for a very long time.
Yeah, at the earliest next season. Well, I know Sasha Banks confirmed that her character is not in the rest of season 2.
Interesting.
So,
let me ask you a question. I don't know this. How many more seasons of Mando did they confirm?
Through season 4. Giancarlo Esposito said that he knew that they were working on season 3. Like, season 3 is for sure. He said they were working on season 4. I think 5 seasons, like Breaking Bad, I think 5 seasons is a great balanced story. Like, it gives enough time to grow and enough time to kind of see the arc of a character and where they're going and that kind of stuff. So,
yeah,
because I feel like in the first 2 seasons, you're always catch up with the character and get to know what they're doing and that kind of stuff. And then by the 3rd season, you're caught up with it and you're going week to week. And then 4 and 5 just fly by because you're in that intense story that's built up. So
I agree. I don't, honestly, I thought for a little while that we would only be getting 3 seasons. It's good to hear that there are 4. I don't want them to continue it longer than it needs to be, though, for the money.
Same, yeah.
They have a clear vision, though. They do. Somebody said to me today they don't see how these last few episodes have connected as much to the story of Mando. And I completely disagreed with that,
Hmm.
because I think
Oh
that
yeah.
we have so many symbolic elements that we're playing with right now, and we're learning so much about Din through Bo-Katan and what their conversations were. We're learning so much about Grogu now through Ahsoka. We have to learn about these characters through other characters, and I think people miss that. You are the sum of your experiences, and through you going through different things, you're able to grow and see the world differently. And I think that's what is happening right now. They're being exposed to other people. Because of that, they themselves are having an arc, whether we see it now or not. This is all a setup. And we said it last week. These episodes have felt like all a setup. Even though there have been payoffs, getting Ahsoka, getting Bo-Katan, huge payoffs. But at the end of the day, they are a setup,
Hmm.
and they haven't paid off yet. We're planting the seeds now of something that later on, either at the end of this season or in season 3 or even 4, we will have a better idea of how the connections all work together. I can really appreciate that. Do you have any final thoughts on this episode, or is that pretty much it?
Well, I was getting ready to say I know some really good stories that provide background to a story to make it sound a whole lot better, and that is The Empire Strikes Back from a certain point of view. You and I listened to some of this together. We were working on the mock this week,
We
and
were.
we listened to a couple of stories. I will tell you, the second half of this book is definitely not as good as the first half. Yeah,
Firsthand, it was something to hear. Let me tell you. That one reader is very robotic. I had a tough time.
she was reading the L337 story, so I thought she was doing that because it's a droid, but
But then she did it in the
I
Leia
don't know.
one, or in the person who was pretending or thought she was Leia, bipolar tale.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah,
Exactly.
that
There's
one
a
I've just
reason you
blocked. That I've blocked that one out.
seamstress who made Leia's dress was the hot romance of this book, Sam. How could you possibly forget it?
I also kind of forget what happened in the Lower Earth story. I was like the most excited for that story. Like I feel like nothing really happened. To all of our viewers, I would say out of this last third of the book, the L337 story is probably the best one. It provides good examples of L3 working with the other droid brains in the Falcon and her reaction to seeing Lando again. I thought was all really good stuff, especially like as a tie into Solo Star Wars story. But overall, other than that, this last third of the book is not that good. There's a story about a defecting stormtrooper who throws all of her armor in a toilet and finds herself watching Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader duel on the weather vane.
What?
Yep. And she even hears Darth Vader talking, but hear what he says over the wind in the tunnel. And yeah, there's a story about the woman who's Lando's second in command, who's having an affair with an Imperial officer and gets tied up with these prisoners on this Spanish shipment, and the Imperial officer chooses to I'll tell you that there is a good story about 21B, the medical droid who puts Luke's hand back on, and like them talking about Luke saying he doesn't want the new limb on because he'll feel like he's not supposed to have it or something like that. And I thought it was a very good story with him and 21B, because 21B saw him on Hoth and then saw him at the end of the movie. That connection between them, like 21B saying, it's one of these days you're gonna show up and I won't be able to fix you up. That kind of thing. I thought it was like a really good like doctor patient banter. That was a heartwarming story to end the book off with. And then the last chapter of those books is always pretty funny. It's the wills of the Force writing a story, and it's just these two guys. And I always picture like the masks in the Lost Missions are.
Mm-hmm.
They analyze the crawl, and just like one guy's trying to write the crawl down, and the other guy's like, well, aren't you going to talk about this? He's like, no. He's like, aren't you going to talk about this? He's like, you're talking about Yoda's root stew, and you're not talking about the freaking Wampa attacks and the bounty hunter on Ord Mantell. He's like, those stories are way more fun than Yoda's root stew and that kind of stuff. So those stories are definitely worth it. The second half of this book, I'd say the best story in this book was the General Veer story.
I would have to say, from what
So I
you've
am.
told me, either the Yoda story or the Emperor story, because I'm a sucker for the Force.
Yeah, and those are good stories, and I would say those are in my top 5. And the L3 story is probably in there because I just love those kind of connections.
I would have
But
liked the Dr. Droid. I would have enjoyed that story probably a lot, just because
yeah,
of that connection, which you easily made between being on Hoth and that. I never looked at the film that way, and that's something that I will try to pick apart when I see it next time.
It's a little bit of an expansion too from the time that Luke gets on there. 21B talks about how Luke has this injury and he doesn't know how to describe it. Luke doesn't know how to talk about it, but it's not a physical ailment. Like 21B talks about like all of his physical diagnostics. It says he's fine, but Luke has an injury that's inside, like internal, not external. So it was just really cool to have that talked about from like a droid point of view where everything is clear, cut and dry. It was a really good, it was a really nice story. Yeah.
That's cool. So
But
what did you feel about the Willrow Hood story? Because you were so excited for that.
I was, and it was called Due on Batu. So I was like, okay, they might be going to Batu. I'm a sucker for that because Disney merchandising. No, because we went to Galaxy's Edge, and I do enjoy the stories they've told so far on Galaxy's Edge. Willrow wants to become a smuggler, and so he says he'll take this Cantono to Batu, and then it was just weird. It was just not what I thought it would be. And if I had to hear one more time, one more story, use Lando's attention. Imperial troops taking over the city. Evacuate before more Imperial troops arrive.
It was in
Like,
three of the ones we listened to.
oh, and I guarantee you there was at least 12 of them. I got so tired of hearing it. In every single story, it happened. Oh my gosh. I am interested to see the next one because they will have Jabba's palace in the next one.
Ooh.
So
I'm ready for that. That sounds cool.
in 3 years, we'll see it. So, because they do it on every anniversary. And the cool thing about this book is it's written for charity. So all the proceeds from this book, all these authors come together and they write this.
I
And
didn't
the
know that.
proceeds to this book, the proceeds of this book go to charity. I enjoyed that aspect of it as well, that they just do this for fun. These authors aren't making money off of it.
Wow.
That they're just writing it for the enjoyment as fans as well.
Way to go,
So-
Sam. Now I need to buy a book. I would buy it
Yeah.
for that. I like that idea. That's really cool.
Real quick before we change subjects, did you read the old Tales from Jabba's Palace book?
No, I've heard a couple of them. God bless you.
Sorry.
I've heard a lot
So-
of them over time, but I've never sat down and actually read it.
Yeah, I have the physical copy. You'll have to borrow it sometime.
Yeah.
The craziest one is Bib Fortuna surviving the sail barge, and he goes back to the palace and has his brain removed and becomes a spider walker.
He becomes a Bomar monk? Interesting. I think it was the hype episode or chapter 9 review of Mando when you said that Max Rebo died on the sail barge, but we saw him in the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special, and they said that all the other band members were dead, I think.
Yeah,
Is
I'm
that
fine
canon?
with him being alive. It better be. It's canon until it's not canon, as they say. Yeah, so you ready to go into merch? And then we have a listener question after that.
Awesome. Sounds good to me. This is a long episode, but we're here for it. And then you will
Yeah.
figure out at the very end, people, remember what is in the Lego bag from Black Friday. Ooh.
Speaking of Lego this week, the official 2021 set released pictures. What do you think of the X-Wing?
Okay. So, I thought that was the best set of this round aside from Mando. For me, I would rank the Mando, X-Wing, TIE Fighter, obviously. I'm not going to put a Microfighter above any of those. They're way too expensive for only getting one figure. For me, $10 for one Han Solo. I think the X-Wing is well designed and it's the perfect price, especially the size that it is. And for someone who doesn't have the original trilogy sets, who doesn't have a Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and R2-D2, that is all the reason to get this set. And for us collectors, General Dodonna is a figure that they've never made before, so of course, it's something that we would want. That set has something for everybody, and it's well designed, so I can get behind it.
I do enjoy. I bought the 2018 one, and I'm glad I did. I love the set. I got it on discount. I think I got it at Kohl's. I wasn't going to pay full price for it, and I'm
No.
glad I got it on sale. And it has the exclusive pilot helmets that they never are going to make again. The dual molded Rebel pilot helmets.
I
So,
didn't realize you
they-
got the one with that. Wow, that's a collector item right there. Nice.
Yeah, I enjoy that set a lot. It's a perfect scale with between that and the TIE Fighter from Solo. I think they pair really well together. I think this new one is nice. I probably won't get it. Like I said last week, I'll probably Bricklink General Dodonna just because I don't have room for it, and I already have all the other figures, and I have an X-Wing. So, but I think it is a very well built set, and I think the scale of it is really nice compared to the TIE Fighter. I think. It's
Oh
really
yeah.
nice.
And for the price, it's a $50 set. Normally that thing would cost $70. How much was the one from 2018?
Yeah, I think it was
remember?
80.
80? Yeah, see? Exactly.
I
To get
think
an
I
X-Wing
think
for 50
but I think I
bucks,
paid 60.
that's more
I paid
reasonable.
60 for it.
That's
Yeah.
definitely more reasonable.
Yeah, it was on sale. Yeah.
My problem currently is space, and it's not the outer space Star Wars galaxy that I'm talking about. I'm talking about my room. And if I don't get what I asked for Christmas, which is extra shelving, we might have a problem here coming up. Based on what's in this bag, we might have a problem here. I'm hoping to get some extra shelves to go along the wall, but we shall see how that pans out.
Or else Matt's mom is going to throw our mock out the window. Someday we'll show you the mock. Someday there'll be a dedicated video after Mando's over. We'll do some more mock stuff
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the mock is really fun and all in due time.
Definitely stick around on this YouTube for a full, and I mean full, examination of our build. Mock stands for my own creation in the LEGO community, and it's basically anything that's not a set that you build, and Sam and I are working on something truly special. So I'm excited to showcase that eventually in the near future.
It's something we work really hard on. We've been working on since before Last Jedi came out. It's been an adventure. It's fun building and a lot of frustrating building, but we're making our way through it.
A lot of Ed Sheeran played on our speakers. Sam doesn't like my playlist.
Being tired.
Yes. No. Sam always starts going well, and then it just drifts away.
So you just kind of just carry it on. And then I'm like, this week I was playing Battlefront. I was playing Squadrons. Yeah. If you haven't played Squadrons yet, oh, it's fun. Yeah. But if you haven't played, I just tried to go in just not knowing anything. And I was like, spinning is a good trick. And I just kept getting missiles locked on me and blow me up every time. So,
yeah. Mando said that last week, too. Spinning is a good trick.
Oh, man. The TIE Fighter got released. You already gave your thumbs down opinion on that.
Stubby. One word. Stubby.
Yeah, same thing with the microfighter. I mean, I like microfighters when they have a cool fig in them. Like, I got the Kylo Ren A-Wing one from The Last Jedi. I thought that was cool. But if it's not a cool combo of figures and like builds, then, like you said, not really my thing.
I was going to say, how do you feel about the Tauntaun and AT-AT on the back of the package, which LEGO hasn't officially released? But since they showed the box, the backing of the box on the microfighter, they had the sets there. How did you feel about those?
I think it's really funny, but I don't think those sets are coming out till April. I think that's why they're holding off. Because there's another wave coming out in April.
That's such a weird choice.
Yeah, because we're getting the Tauntaun AT-AT, the Poe's Junior's X-Wing, and the Imperial Shuttle. And the Imperial Shuttle's figures were actually leaked right before we came on the air tonight. We're going to be getting Darth Vader, no arm printing, Luke Skywalker with a blue lightsaber, and his.
I really think that these are preliminary images and they aren't finalized. I think we will get Darth Vader with arm printing. I think Luke Skywalker will have a green lightsaber, but because these images are from an older catalog, these are not finalized.
They look like they came from the back of the instruction manual. Because I know people already have the Trouble on Tatooine set. So I've seen reviews already on YouTube.
Some people have all of them.
So
LEGO, whenever you want to send me all of the sets months before, I'm here, I am ready, I will make the space and the time to do as many reviews as you want. You can send me any set that you want, LEGO, and I will review it immediately. I'm here for you. Just let me know.
Stands up and pushes 2 ships and the Death Star off the shelf. I have room.
LEGO enters the chat on Zoom. Wait, we heard you. We heard that you would like to help us and review our sets on YouTube. Oh, I have room.
1,000 minifigure voices suddenly cried out, and then we're silenced.
Some of my mocks are taking up space. I have a mock of my room. I made a turkey. You can find that on my Instagram. I have a mock of Boba Fett that we see in Mando with the twin sons. I could take those all off and we could have plenty of space.
I don't know when those other sets are coming out.
Also, if you want to see our reaction to the Mandalorian Trouble on Tatooine set, go check out our last podcast episode. We get into that there. I will say for the TIE Fighter, the reason that people are wanting it, it seems like, is for that droid. And I think that would be the only reason that I would want it. It's a cool droid. It's different.
Yeah,
new.
It's not bad. I like the droid from the last Sandcrawler. It's the same mold, but I like the beat up kind of gray one than that dark one. But to each their own. I mean,
And I think that the newer Death Star also came with more of a Death Star droid, right?
yeah.
Which retired. Rest in peace, Death Star set. Is it 3 or 2? I thought it was 2.
One's Boy Scouts, one's Hunger Games. I'm going to leave it up to you.
Tell me which is
Okay.
which.
So also this week on Mando Monday, Hasbro released some 3 3/4 figures, the Grief Karga from last week's episode, and the child with the pram and the frog, which is the difference between the one in the Razor Crest, which comes with the cup, versus the frog. So it's pretty much the same thing, but you're going to get a frog instead of the cup. And this is in 3 3/4 scale, which is super tiny. So I don't know how big this frog would be.
Was it an announcement or do they have images of it?
They have images of it, but it's all just digital rendering. So there's no physical thing yet, which is also tough to tell. The Moff Gideon Black Series is tough to look at. I would love to have gotten it, but his face is just meh. So.
Oh, these guys. Yes. I thought these looked weird. Yeah. That frog is going to be teeny tiny.
The Black Series one is already super tiny.
And how much are they selling that for?
I'm not sure. I'm guessing like $12.
They have the Kenner logo there, Sam. So that's all the reason to get it. It says Kenner.
That's a reference to that Star Wars thing.
Yeah, that Kenner. What's that Hasbro?
Something that's more up our alley, though, the Funko Pops. They are really cool.
As a big just fan of art that projects onto Ralph McQuarrie art, I would love to get some of those Ralph McQuarrie Pops, Sam. For those of you who don't know, I have the original concept art books from Ralph McQuarrie. They were a ton of money, but I got them for Christmas a couple years ago. And they're so cool to look through. Whenever I'm having a moment where I just need some inspiration with art, I sit down and I look through those books. There's some really cool older artwork from that guy. He was incredible. And to see fully formed figures in that style, that's something special to have on your shelf.
Oh, and they're all cool for different reasons. I mean, I think the R2 one stands out to me the most, but I think each one has its own special.
For me, because I know the artwork, I mean, I'm looking at it right now. This 3PO and the R2 are really cool because they're in the same painting on Tatooine with 3PO in the front. The Yoda one I know from the Dagobah scene, which Ralph McQuarrie originally painted. Really cool looking. But Vader being that iconic image of the original Luke Skywalker and Vader fighting on Bespin, or else the early concept of it, I guess it is. Having him with the blue lightsaber. That's the first painting that I think of when I think of Ralph McQuarrie. Is that duel between Luke and Vader.
I do wish the Yoda one was purple. The original concept for Yoda was purple, so it would have been interesting to see that. It's green, but
I never realized that.
Yeah.
I think it would be too hard for them to, like, from a marketing perspective.
Oh yeah.
Sell
and it's interesting that they didn't put the Luke one in there. Luke Starkiller or whatever his name is.
Yeah, with that face mask
breathing
thing that he's wearing.
Yeah.
I think that would have been really cool. Just like I said, how 3PO and R2 are paired together in that one painting. It would have been cool to have a Vader and Luke one each.
It's probably going to be a convention exclusive, I'm guessing, or like a box exclusive of some kind.
But we also never see his face with the breathing apparatus in that painting fully from the front. Maybe in other paintings he did.
Yeah, there's an action figure of it because I almost bought the action figures of the 3PO and R2 when we were in high school because our teacher had the action figures as that concept. I think Hasbro did action figures of it. I never pulled the trigger on it, and I wish I had because those are really cool. But I think they did a Luke Skywalker in that line as well.
I think you're right. Now that I'm looking back.
Do you want to do your Lego bag first or listener question first?
Oh, we're doing the listener question first. The Lego bag is the final cookie for people to stay for the entire rest of the episode. I'm just dangling the cookie. Come on. So our listener question this week is from Matthew Sabo. I'm sorry that I'm butchering your name.
Sounds good to me.
I apologize. Matthew Sabo. That's probably the closest that we're going to get. He says, yo, what is your favorite Lego set? And keep up the good work. Well, thank you. Thank you, Matthew.
Thanks.
Keep up the good work, Sam. Keep it going, Sam. You're doing great.
Yeah, you too, bud. Just keep sticking around, folks. We'll provide more content for you.
What is your favorite Lego set ever?
I have my top 3.
What are they?
First one is the Tantive 4 from the UCS Tantive 4. They came out last year. I love that set. That set is so cool. The minifigs on it are really cool. The only gripe I have is I wish that set had an exclusive hairpiece, like a hood hairpiece for Leia with the buns and stuff. But other than that, it has Bail Organa. I love the way the engines look, and I have it on my nightstand. It sits underneath my TV, so when I'm watching TV, I look at the head tip. The Resistance bomber from Last Jedi, I really, really love. Matt and I were talking about this a few weeks ago. I got the exclusive Finch Dallo figure, so I have all 5 of the pilots for the Resistance bomber.
Regrets.
With Holdo. It's such a cool set. I love the way it's such a strong set too. My sister's boyfriend's son was over at my house the other day. Him and I were out flying the Resistance bomber around. He's 4 years old. He was just flying it around, dropping bombs out. And it's like if a 4-year-old can play with it and not destroy it totally, it's a pretty solid build.
That is one of the rarest Lego figures from the Star Wars line I think that's ever been made.
Oh yeah, I walk people in my room sometimes. I'm like, could you walk me to the most exclusive figure in my room? And they'll go to Queen Amidala or they'll go to Coleman Trebor or something like that. No, it's just this random pilot dude sitting in the Resistance bomber who looks like every other pilot dude. I'm glad I jumped on it at the right time because yeah, could have missed out on that. The last set is the Y-wing from Rogue One. It's another solid set. It has Admiral Raddus in it and Moroff, who's a really interesting, like 2 really cool alien molds that you never really see. We won't probably ever see at least Moroff again. And Admiral Raddus, like that color Mon Cal, I thought was really cool. But the Y-wing itself is a really solid build. A kid could switch around.
The official Lego term is swooshable, Sam. Official Lego term is swooshable. I would say if I had to name my favorite Lego set that I own, it's hard because some have sentimental value. I think you understand that as a Lego collector as well. And some are just good sets at the same time. I think for sentimental value, I would say my Clone Turbo Tank from 2005 because it was the first big Lego set that I ever got. It has that Mace Windu figure. It has a couple Clone Troopers, but at the time it was really hard for me to build, and I look back at that and find it funny how my life has evolved in a way but stayed the same in other ways. I also really like, for what it is, the LAAT Republic gunship from the Clone Wars. That also holds a place in my heart. But my ultimate favorite set that I own would be the lovely Death Star up there. That's the original Death Star. Do you remember what year that came out? I think 2008.
I was gonna say it's 2008. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah,
but that was before all the updates were made to it. And like I said before, earlier in the show, the newest set retired just the other day. It's a good one. It holds a place in my heart. I got that when I was a bit younger and really enjoyed building it. The biggest set that I have by far, for sure. And yours make complete sense.
Yeah, mine was out of practicality. I don't have emotions, so continue. What's in the bag?
What is in the bag? You guys made it to the end of the episode, or you skipped, in which case you cheated, but that's all right. What did I get? I got, because it was Black Friday, there was something on sale that I've wanted to get, but that will be the last thing that I reveal. The first thing that I got was a Black Friday exclusive. We'll work our way up. This was exclusive to the Lego store only, and that's why I went to the Lego store at 6 a.m. in the morning. It wasn't being sold online, because there are certain things that you can only get in the Lego store that aren't online that you get for free. So this was one of them. It is the Creator Christmas tree. But it was free. And it came with a purchase of, I think, $40 at least you had to spend to get this. And I spent well over that, of course. That's what I was getting. But it's cool to have another Christmas tree because I already have one. I'd rather get something for free than not. And there was some other shopping I had to do, so I made the trip. Next up, Sam, you're going to hate me. You're going to hate me. We got another...
Got another Christmas Carol? I hate you. You have 2 Christmas carols now? Literally. I've been hunting for it, and I've been trying to buy it, and the AT-AT won't even come on the Lego store.
You should have went to the Lego store with me because they had 4 AT-ATs. You could have gotten as many as you wanted and made a crane out of a few. So yes, I do have.
Well, you see,
Christmas
I
sets.
didn't know there were Black Friday plans. Oh.
It's okay. It's okay. I feel bad showing you that. I'm going to be honest. Before I show you what I got, this is the most frustrating part of being a Lego fan, right? There's a reason I was upset about this Lego visit. Do you want to know what it is? Do you want to guess what it was?
That you saw 4 Most Highly Cantinas at the Lego store.
I saw one, and it had my name written on it.
I've heard about people who saw 4 of them in the store when they were like you. They called every day, and then they didn't hear anything, and then there were
I'm still extremely grateful for my girlfriend going out purchasing that for me. It makes it more meaningful from that perspective. And plus, how would I have ever known that that would have been at the Lego store? Or that I would have gone to the Lego store on Black Friday? I did not have these plans ahead of time. This was a spur of the moment type of thing. And you know what? It means a lot more that she was able to do something like that for me. Just as a person with emotions, which Sam has none of, apparently. Lastly,
but you still got the really awesome set that you got. So
yes, I got the Droid Commander set.
Which has been sitting in our Lego store for like a year and a half now with an inch of dust on it.
And Sam's always pointed it out to me like, oh, you could get the R2-D2 and Mouse Droid with Gonk Droid Commander set. And like, nah. But why did I get this set? Was it for the R2-D2? Was it for the Mouse Droid? Was it for the Gonk Droid? None of the above. It was for this power pack, this move hub in the set. You know how much this costs normally? $80. $80. So call me Droid Commander Matt from now on, because I'm trying to learn Lego power functions and how you can connect your device to it through Bluetooth and make it actually operate. I think that's super cool. I've never had a set like that. The only set that I own with power functions is that AT-AT up there that you can barely see the butt of. It has the moving legs and it has one motor in it, but I built it at such a young age that honestly, I don't even remember putting it together. I remember being frustrated with building the internal parts of it, all the gears. Very, very difficult to build, especially for a youngster. I would never want to take that apart because I'd be afraid that I couldn't exactly get it back together, because I did have such a hard time with it. I think I needed some adult supervision to build that one, honestly. But this, I'm really excited to learn the power functions and have 3 droids that come with it. I mean, I feel like I saved money with it, honestly, because it not only does it come with this power function, it comes with light sensors and noise sensors and all these other things. And I'm really interested to learn about how to operate it. And I know you are too. So you are more than welcome to play with it when you come over at some time. Really excited to build it and hopefully have a review up in the near future, at least for you guys before it retires. But it was on sale. I got it for $160 and it was $200. That was a $200 set that I got for $160. I'd say that's a pretty good deal.
That's a solid Black Friday idea right there. I don't play with that Gonk Droid. He's cool. It's like he kicks some ass.
Oh yeah. But what's interesting is the instructions are only on your device. There's no instruction manual because I watched a review from M&R and there's only one like paper with it. It just tells you to get the app and to learn how to build it through that. So I will have my summary review, I guess, for you whenever I build this and let you know probably on the podcast how I feel about it. But yeah, I hope to at least have a full review sometime. Of course, we will have this as well reviewed probably sooner than later because now I have this in my possession and I feel really bad because you'd never got one. Maybe I'll sell one and get like $50 and put it towards having the set. And so then I won't feel as bad. If you want to buy it off of me for $50, it's exclusive, Sam. You can't find it anywhere, you know. I love you.
To all of our viewers, this is Matt dangling the cookie. And
poor Sam.
Oh well. Well, it's been a great week.
Yes, it has. Podcasting. There is so much that we just covered. It's an exciting time to be a Star Wars fan. It feels like these last 4 or so years, 5 years? Yeah. 5 years now. That's when Force Awakens came out. Have been such a great time, and having the things from Clone Wars matter and Rebels in a grander sense for Star Wars storytelling, I think it's something that all fans can get behind. And as deep Clone Wars fans, being that we grew up with it, something that matters to us especially. So it's really, really cool that we're able to talk about it on this forum, on this platform. And I really enjoy that. And truthfully, it means a lot to me that we're able to do this each week. And I'm very grateful for all of you who support us and who join us each and every episode that we have. It really means a lot. And I hope that you enjoy the content that we produce.
Yes, and thank you to all of you who were active in the comments in the live chat. We've been trying to get in and out of live chat during the premiere, but between our hectic lives, I appreciate your understanding as we try to juggle a lot of different parts of life, and we know you are too. So we thank you for your time and just having us on each week to talk about our crazy Star Wars theories and stuff like that. So
thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you would like to see more of these episodes, and follow us both on social media. My name is Matt Mellish everywhere. Instagram, YouTube, of course, where you are right now, and TikTok, so you can find me there. Sam, where can everybody get you at?
I'm at SG Sketches and Stuff on Instagram, and there you'll see my random art pictures. Feel free to reach out to me on there if you have anything pressing you want to talk about. Questions, comments, concerns, emotional baggage. Here we are. Welcome to my TED Talk.
Of course, of course. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you always. You have to say bye.
Bye.
Say it again.
Bye. Bye.